There's a bunch of crazy stories written by the Brothers Grimm. And now you're gonna learn all about them, listening to the Brothers Grimm.
Students and scholars, friends and relations, welcome to the Brothers Dim podcast, where we discuss the stories written down and recorded by the Brothers Grimm in the early 1800s. Today, we are discussing Grimm's story number 18, The Straw, the Coal, and the Bean. My name is Phil.
And my name is Mike.
And Mike, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm always happy when we get to one of these stories, which is a bit of a tradition in Grimm's.
The three anthropomorphic weirdos.
The story, I'm calling it in my head, the X, the Y, and the Z, which we haven't talked about in a bit. And I think we technically, movie magic, aren't talking about for 5 more weeks. But story number 23, The Mouse, the Bird, and the Sausage, which I'll just admit, we recorded a month ago with our good friend, Nate the Jazzman.
Of Rapunzel fame.
Of Rapunzel fame. Oh, right, yes. Nate from Rapunzel, who will be joining us to talk about the story number 23. And in that one, we are joined by Nate's son, Charles, which that will be a real treat for a couple weeks from now. And I got a record in the mail today. I got to buy a band called Rilo Kiley.
I only know one song by them, but it's a very good song.
Is it Better Son or Daughter?
It is.
Oh, okay. They have a lot of good songs. I'll make you a playlist, but like 5 other people really like that band. And they're one of my favorite bands. They're one of my top favorite bands, I think.
I love Jenny Lewis and I respect everything she does, but I never find time to listen to her solo stuff or to Rilo Kiley.
I find nothing against Jenny Lewis's solo stuff. I don't find it as interesting musically as Rilo Kiley. I think she was very good at writing. She's a very good singer. She's very good at writing pretty kind of lyrics and things like that. But her musical style kind of veers a little more towards country, kind of alt country. Which,
yeah, I can see that.
Anyways, they re-released all of their albums on vinyl, and then I wasn't going to buy the album More Adventurous, but I found it was only $16 for the vinyl, so I picked that up. But that has nothing to do
with The Straw, the Coal, and the Bean.
With The Straw, the Coal, and the Bean. So, Mike, would you, if you don't mind, please bring us through the plot of Story 18, The Straw, the Coal, and the Bean?
Oh, with pleasure. So we start with a poor old woman, as we often do, and she has gathered some beans to cook for her supper. I'm guessing this was a multi-day affair, or at least an all-day affair. She has had to gather these beans. So she lights a fire, uses some straw for kindling, and as she's adding the beans to the pan, she drops one without noticing. It lands on the floor next to a piece of straw. Soon after this, a burning coal jumps out of the fire down with them, and they start to have a conversation. They revel in the not ending up like their friends, all the straw that's on fire, all the coals that are burning to ash, all the beans that are getting stewed into a soup. And so they decide they're going to be companions and set out on their own. They come to a stream with no bridge, and they cannot cross. The straw has a fortunate idea. He's going to lay down, or she is going to lay down over the stream to act as a bridge for the others to walk across. So they think this is a good idea. The coal goes first. She gets to the middle, and she gets a little spooked and can't go any further. Because she has hesitated, the straw catches on fire, and the coal and the straw fall into the stream and disappear to their deaths. The bean is standing on the bank watching this and laughs so hard that she splits her skin. Fortunately for her, a tailor who'd sat down to rest near the stream notices this, sews her up, and she is fine. However, he used black thread, and so now all beans have a black seam. A little bit of Aesop there for you.
Oh, yeah. That's the word I was looking for. I was trying to think of that word. Okay, so anyways.
Yeah, Aesop's Fables. It has a very much of a ring of that. It's like, well, that's how hippopotamuses are big.
Okay, that's amazing.
That's why elephants have trunks.
I want to get into that soon, but that was anyways, the end, right?
The end, yes.
So a nice one pager. Easy enough to sum up.
Super short.
And they get in a lot of story for only being a page.
Right.
You know what? I was thinking when I was trying to think of moral, I had one, and then, but I guess Aesop is the word I was looking for, where I said, I'm sure there's a better word for this, but what I'm calling it that is an origin of a unique trait story.
Yeah.
Which is, why did the zebra got its stripes? It was a white horse that fell on a fence.
That had just been painted.
Now, and then that's how it got its stripes.
And now all zebras have stripes.
Now zebras and lima beans have a black line. I guess the only other moral, because with Aesops, you don't really get a moral, right? It's just like, that's how X happened. And that's why X.
Yeah, it's often a punishment to that creature that got the characteristic.
Okay.
It's like, oh, because this thing didn't act in the way it should have, it got punished with X, and now all Ys have X. Right?
Even though being striped is actually a fantastic survival strategy.
Right. Yeah, no, it has nothing to do with survival of the fittest or camouflage,
Just
evolution, or anything like that.
Are you making fun of my nose, are you? Well, you're not going to be making fun for very long, Mr. Elephant. You jerk.
I don't have a moral. Do you?
The only other one I could think of, which they switched the Aesop pretty quick, though, is just lack of courage will get you and your friends killed, which feels a little militaristic to me. The bean also gets hurt, or she. Is it all women? Is it all?
I had to go back and check, but they're all female, which is interesting. Okay. I wouldn't have expected that previously.
I remember reading that the bean was female. So okay, so they're all women, which I don't know. The bean gets sewn up. That's 100% conjecture. I have no idea if their plan was militaristic. I don't think so. But lack of courage will get you and your friends killed, and then it just turns into a thing about, and then it's like a long walk. It's a really long walk to get to why lima beans have a black line on them.
Well, I think there's a shade of a little bit of the mouse, the bird, and the sausage that we'll get to later, is that we learn that the sausage is not fit for the outside world or for really anything other than the job it has. Yeah. And I think this is supposed to be a brutally obvious example that the coal, the straw, and the bean are not ready to strike out on their own in the outside world, and maybe should have just stayed behind and been burned to ash or consumed in the fire or eaten by the old woman. Although I guess the bean has a happy ending, right? But it still can't cross the stream.
I don't even know that it needs to. Maybe it can. It was the coal that couldn't cross the stream, really. The coal was going to be, water on a coal, put out the coal.
Yeah.
Which I don't know why it cared about that either. Like, it was worried about getting burnt up. So
yeah, but it was still lit, because it describes when she falls in the water, she goes out and then drowns.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I have a couple things. I don't have a lot of notes on this one.
Nah,
I can tell you the Arn Thompson type. Ooh. And I can give you my pitch. My Hollywood pitch.
Hit me.
Arn Thompson type 295. Would you like to take a guess at the name of Arn Thompson type 295?
I'm going to guess it is the thing, and the thing.
It is the straw, the coal, and the bean specifically.
Oh. There's no subtype
really...
or there's no super type of 3 anthropomorphic things?
I'm going to get into that in a little bit in my Hollywood pitch.
All right.
Because like I said earlier when we started, it's a story type where the X, the Y, and the Z, which I like.
Yeah. These are my favorites so far.
Yeah, they're short, they're funny, they have an Aesop.
And typically one of them is a food that does not make sense.
Yeah, that's just a random thing though. Okay, here's my movie pitch. And I have a movie. It's not exactly a movie pitch. Like I said, there's the one theme we see, which is the X with the Y and the Z, or just odd companions that room together. Sometimes it's just two. But coming up, we have in Grimm's the knapsack, the hat, and the horn.
I cannot wait for that.
Yeah, one eye, 2 eyes, and 3 eyes. The spindle, the shuttle, and the needle, which you could think, well, that can't be anthropomorphized, except that it sure can, because we just had a whole story with ragamuffins where they're friends with some sewing equipment, which goes on a drunken adventure. But
maybe they know them.
It's very possible. They're all in the same family. My pitch, as it were, is kind of an anthology series, 15-minute shorts on Adult Swim, where you start off with just some guy that works for an intern for a chaos demon He's tasked with causing chaos across the universe. And it's all very said. To do so, he lumps together 3 random things for each different story. So you can have a little meta story overarching with the series where the universe is just getting sillier. But then each individual story, and try and figure out a way that these 3 things would all be together. You have a quick adventure, and then things just devolving into like a psychedelic, chaotic mess. And everything is just an anthropomorphized version of itself. So
and everything dies.
Yeah, and everything dies. I went online. I found a random object word generator.
Ooh.
So here's what I came up with for the first couple of episodes, if you will. The tiger, the box of chocolates in the comb. The cat, the lime, and the incense holder.
Oh, that's good because cats hate citrus. We've got tension already built in.
Why do cats hate citrus?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Why do cats hate citrus?
Get like some like essence of lemon spray and hit your cat with it when he does something bad.
I'm not going to do that, but I know
not.
It's nice to have it in my back pocket. And I know you like this. You're like this. 2 animals and a piece of food. So the giraffe, the bumblebee, and the pretzel.
Oh, I like it.
There. And then with our story, the one that we just read, you could start with Grimm. Cole gets scared. They get to the stream. The Cole gets scared, burns the straw. The bean bursts out laughing. Then you kind of go bonkers with it. So he's screaming bloody murder that his insides are pouring out. And then the doctor comes along and sews him up and then puts him in a room to recover. But the bean wakes up and he's scared. So he shoots the doctor. He finds a gun and shoots the doctor. Realizes what he's done. He tries to hide the body. So he's outside digging a hole and crying. And maybe throwing a little Shakespeare, like out damn spot,
It's nothing like crying while digging a grave.
Yeah. And then apropos of nothing at all, a huge hand appears out of the sky and grabs him and throws him into either a giant volcano or a giant pot. But the camera pulls back and the volcano is actually just a giant who's making soup. And then at the end of the story, you go back out to an outro with the chaos demon and his intern, and then do like just a weird moral, which is like, kids, the kitchen ain't a playground. There's a lot of danger hiding in here. Take this soup pot, for example. By itself, it's harmless, but filled with scalding hot water, it can cause a bad burn. So to stay out of hot water, keep those pot handles turned in. And then that's the end of the each 15-minute thing. And I think I could get a 15-minute story out of almost any 3 objects.
So as you were talking about that, I started spinning a whole new podcast in my head where we auto-generate 3 nouns. And then one of us we alternate telling a story. I mean, we could script it ahead of time or we could improv it, telling a story in Grimm's fashion about these things, how they meet each other, a brief adventure, and then how they all die. But then I was thinking, what if we just had ChatGPT write it?
What? No.
We could generate a whole you could tell it, write me a story about a giraffe, a bumblebee, and a pretzel.
I have absolutely no intention of ever using ChatGPT. It's not to write stories. That's a terrible idea. You're going to put us out of business.
Old man yells at cloud.
It's not an old man yelling at cloud. It's I'm a writer. I find
fair.
And the thing is for all these, it's not AI that I don't worry about, like an actual AI, but it's all taking previous work and just like, mashing it together, obviously, but like you can only do it if someone's already written things. And that irks me because it's like, okay, does that mean, are we done as humans with writing any of our own shit? And I know probably like I have this fantastic record collection. And we have all this good music that we play from constantly. He's going to listen to some AI generated bullshit. And I'm going to be like, why can't you listen to good music? Like what, like Insane Clown Posse? Why you got to listen to that AI generated bullshit? I'm not a huge fan of what's been generated by ChatGPT, but
that's fair. I think you got a very good point there.
That said, if you would, we can have we're already doing a podcast, so we don't need to do a second podcast.
I don't have time. I
barely have time to do this podcast, although I really like doing it.
I do too. I very much enjoy this.
With the podcast could be called the X, the Y, and the Z. Syzygy, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe after we retire.
After we get through 200 some stories. We need extra stuff to do. We'll just make up our own Grimm stories. But anyway, that all aside, we'll see what we manage to edit this into. That sort of brings us, in my opinion, to the end of story number 18, The Straw, the Coal, and the Bean. Mike, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, one of my favorite images in any of these stories so far is the bean laughing hysterically as her friends die in the river. and then bursts open and starts screaming. I agree that has such an Adult Swim quality to it. And that's why that's where I was going with it. As soon as I thought of that, I was like, I could see that. Yeah. I was laughing out loud just at the bean thought it was funny.
You assholes.
Anyway, that's
looks
all
like you assholes are gonna die. It's too bad. Bum, bum, ba-dum, wah.
I told you that was gonna happen. Anyway, that's all I've got.
All right, very good. Thank you for listening to Story 18, The Straw, the Coal, and the Bean. Sleep tight, and we will see you next time.
See you next time.